Yeah, the whole Charlie Jones phenomenon is just crazy. That what my thought of Charlie Jones in the offseason when he left for Purdue was this guy's a nice player. He's more of a special teams guy, more of a threat as a punt and kickoff returner, punt returner. He's more of that kind of guy. And I think he's a decent receiver, but when he only catches 15 passes a season, like this guy is almost catching as many passes in a game as a season. I think he had 21 catches last year. He's catching 12 and 13 balls a game for Purdue. He was obviously a weapon. You know, I heard him, an NFL scout, if the color analyst was being accurate, which I got to trust that they are, that there were NFL scouts in the building that likened him to Deshaun Jackson. And it's like, this guy can't be utilized in an offense. You're this archaic that you can't figure out a way to utilize a guy like this.
And it's pretty telling that he ran as quickly as he could. He got out of there, and it was a smart move. And I would expect more players to leave if there are, in fact, any players that are good enough to play elsewhere. And, you know, Luke Lachey, being a tight end, it can play anywhere. But also being a tight end at Iowa is, you know, probably a tight end's dream. And so is that somewhere you want to leave? But when you watch this offense, it is so difficult for them to do anything. I go back to the Michigan game where there was they went for it on 4th and 2 and they threw a 1 yard out. And it was like, it took everything for them to just get 1 yard down the field. And it's so painful to watch. And this poor defense is 2-1 in games in which they have not allowed a touchdown. And that's unfair that your defense can hold a team out of the end zone and lose 9-6. And it's not a surprise anymore. And it's one of those things where the dad loves his son, the son loves his dad. And when Brian Ferentz was asked last week about, you know, have you thought about resigning? Like, no, I'm not the kind that gives up. You know, I'm going to dig in, and it just keeps digging and digging. And, you know, it reminds me of the Simpsons episode where they're like digging a well and they're stuck in it. And Homer says, we'll dig our way out. And he starts digging down further. And it's like, no, you got to dig up. And Brian Ferentz has yet to dig up, and they don't have the skill to do it. They don't have the game planning. They don't have the coaches to do it. And as I always say, I'll say it on every show. I say it on my show, bad offense is a choice. There are enough ways out there to have a good offense. And if you choose to have a bad offense, that's a choice by the head coach. And he should be, I don't know, punished or whatever like this. That's on him. And it's as Kevin said, that starts with him. And it's his decision to, we're okay being last in the Big Ten in scoring. That's what we are. And I like that because you don't have to be. And if you choose to be, then as I said, it's a choice.
Absolutely, because point well taken on the personnel not being probably where it could be if they actually had an offense that would attract better recruits through both high school and transfer portal. But when we see in the same conference, Indiana fire its offensive line coach, and Rutgers, that's like 25 or 30 spots higher in the offensive rankings nationally, fire its offensive coordinator, that they have higher standards. And their offenses, especially Indiana's, is prolific compared to Iowa's. And they actually choose to, okay, we can be better. We need to do better. There are people not doing their jobs. And I guarantee that those guys have not been on their jobs for 6 seasons.
Well, maybe Jack Tuttle can transfer to Iowa because, I mean, he couldn't beat out Connor Bazelak, but he would beat out Spencer Petras 10 times out of 10. I mean, maybe 11 times out of 10, unless you know, they adopted Petras and they're, you know, and he's an honorary Ferentz or something. Because I don't understand. I mean, he, you know, I don't mean to put him into Jack Cohn status, but I just do not see anything there that is offensively redeeming. Nothing. And you don't have to worry about him running. He's averaging like minus however many yards a game because of sack adjusted and everything else. So it's not like, well, you know, he can't throw the ball, but at least he can scramble and prolong drives and maybe keep the Ohio State offense on the sideline. He can't. And, you know, I just don't get it.
You know who can do that, Kevin? The backup. The backup's not Michael Vick, but he's mobile. he's a mobile quarterback. He has time in the system, and he's played. He played last year. If you look at his numbers and look at the team's production on offense, it's not great, but it's a step up from Spencer Petras. So they've got a backup that is shown in limited time, but in meaningful games, he had to play due to injury, that he at least presents that threat.
The other thing is just when you have an offense that is this bad and you choose to have an offense this bad, you cannot attract recruits. You cannot attract anybody from the transfer portal worth anything. And I will point to Tennessee that got Hendon Hooker from Virginia Tech. Iowa could go get somebody from Virginia Tech. Jalen Hyatt, the receiver, was once committed. The receiver that scored 5 touchdowns against Alabama was once committed to Virginia Tech. So, like, this is possible. And these guys, there's so many good players around the nation that hit the portal because of where they are, they can't play. And if Iowa was an attractive option, is there a less attractive offensive option in the Big Ten, maybe Northwestern? Like, I could see a quarterback wanting to play at Purdue. I can see a running back wanting to play at Minnesota. Like, all of these different schools. Quarterback, we saw Casey Thompson want to play at Nebraska. Who in their right mind is Hudson Card going to want to play at Iowa? No. Why would you? And until there are significant changes with that offense and the style and in the scheme, like, you're not going to draw. You can't recruit, and you're not going to get in players who have already been developed at other schools who could be plug and play guys for you. There's no attraction there. There's no reason to come to Iowa and play there. It's that kind of playing time is not worth it.
If Iowa were going out there and it were a matter of they were trying to do things, they were being creative, they were attempting to run an offense, and they were unsuccessful, that would resonate better. It's a matter of that they are going out there and failing with ineptitude rather than with indifference. I mean, it's indifference. That's what their offense is. I could deal with incompetence if they were just incompetent with what they were doing, but we're trying, we're doing what we can or whatever. All right, that's one thing, but it's indifferent. It's like, well, we know everybody here's to see the defense, and it is a remarkable defense, but you're not going to win many games. And when you go, what was it, like 7-3 against South Dakota State to open the season with the safeties and everything else? I mean, that's novel, that's fun. South Dakota State's a really good FCS team, yada yada yada. Oh, they go out and they beat Nevada, who's legitimately one of the worst FBS teams out there, 20-something-0. And then everything else has just been kind of pain and suffering. And the people that that have been had the most pain are the people that have to watch it. I mean, seriously, if I were in that hospital, I'd say, can I have a room on the other side? I really don't want to watch the game. I don't want to watch the game. I've already been dealt a tough hand.
My favorite stat from the South Dakota game was the 7-3 score and the way it was produced, obviously, with the field goals and the safeties. But in addition to that, the one field goal, so the one scoring drive for the offense, 5 yards to get the field goal. It was a 5-yard drive. The defense set up the field goal.
Iowa averaged 2.7 yards per play in that game. Like, even 3 yards in a cloud of dust still leaves you like a 4th and 2.
Yeah,
2.7 times 4. I mean, if you get 2.7 every time, you're unstoppable.